Ondo gubernatorial polls come Saturday, an off-cycle election with the top contenders being the All Progressives Congress that has an incumbent and also a candidate, and as well as the People's Democratic Party that is bringing in a fresh hand into the political space to to stand on the pedestal of the People's Democratic Party. Now let's hope that we have connection with Patriot Desmond or Patriot Fowobi, who is in Akure at the moment to monitor the elections and see how we can get insight from him as to how the elections preparations are panning out there in Akure. Hello and a good morning to you, Comrade Patriot Desmond. If you can hear me, how is Akure this morning? Well, we look to establish connection with Patriot Desmond in just a short while, but do well to note that the story on the Ondo gubernatorial polls is one that has been quite big in the news this morning, of course, with most pictures capturing the APC National Party Chairman Alhaji Abdullahi Ganduje with the Vice President Kashim Shettima, the Governor of Lagos State Babajide Sanwo-Olu, as well as other APC bigwigs campaigning for the party's flag bearer ahead of the Ondo gubernatorial polls. Now, the party's candidates at the mega rally held at the MKO Abiola Democracy Park in Akure, Ondo State on Wednesday. Well, I believe we are having a little bit of connection there with Patriot Desmond. A very good morning to you, Patriot. It's wonderful to have you join us again on Morning Express.
Greetings to every one of you in Nigeria, watching all over the country. I'm pleased to be here with you from Akure, the Sunshine State. It's good to be in the studio and joining you virtually from Akure.
That's fantastic. Now let us in on the situation of the build-up in Akure there. How is the atmosphere? Is it tensed? Is it laid back? What are we looking at?
Thank you so much, Chijoke. Like I have observed elections across Nigeria in different states. The state, Akure, is peaceful. Ondo State is peaceful. The election here is calm. Everywhere is calm, and I hope that we're going to have the best kind of election in the states because everywhere is calm and peaceful.
All right, that's great. But let us in also on the role you're playing there in Akure. What appears to be the purpose of the visit to Akure? You seem to. I know you are a patriotic Nigerian, being the president of the Nigeria Nexus, and you like to pay attention.
I am the president of the Nigeria Nexus.
Yes.
And the Nigeria Nexus is a social political organization that trying to put it in proper perspective for Nigerians to participate in to understand their civic right and responsibility. So I am here to urge the members of the Nigeria Nexus, one, to participate in the upcoming election, then number two, to observe elections in Ondo. My purpose is to observe election in Ondo State.
Well, Patriot Desmond, it's wonderful that you're doing the works you're doing for the people of Ondo State as well as Nigerians in general via the umbrella of the Nigerian Nexus, a non-governmental organization that does quite brilliant works in ensuring that the dividends of democracy is delivered to Nigerians, and government officials or political office holders are held accountable for their actions or inactions. Yesterday, there was a media parley at the office of the Minister of the FCT, and one of the questions thrown at him was his indifference, sort of, towards the Ondo gubernatorial polls, where we saw the APC bigwigs rally in support. The vice president was there. The APC National Party Chairman was there. The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu was there, and many other APC top-ranking members were there to support Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa ahead of the polls. However, not much has been seen of the PDP lately. Do you think that perhaps the outcome of this election is already foreseen even before it holds?
One beautiful thing that I observe in Ondo State is that it is not just the APC stewards that are in Ondo State. As a matter of fact, the governor of Oyo State is also in Ondo State to support the candidacy of Ajayi, Agbola Ajayi, and Festus in this upcoming election. I did see, I think the governor of Bayelsa State also came into the country, into the state yesterday to give his support to the PDP's candidates, as well as the APC. We had the entourage of the National Party in Ondo State yesterday, with the likes of every other governor from Imo State, the governor of Lagos State, or Ekiti State, Ogun State, were all in Ondo State yesterday. One interesting thing you need to understand about this state is that a lot of people are interested, and yet the interest they have in these upcoming elections has not led into any form of violence. There have not been any known case of violence erupted in any part of Ondo State. So I give it to the players. I think we're going to have one of the most peaceful elections in Ondo State compared to what we have in Edo State. Ondo State has been largely peaceful, and the conduct of elections and the campaigns have been so matured. So I'm not going to be surprised that at the end of this practice election, we're going to have a free, fair, and a peaceful election. And the INEC did also allege that their electoral materials have arrived about 2 days ago. So I think so far so good. Everything seems good. Everything is looking good here in Ondo State.
Well, the last time we touched on the issue of political apathy by the people of Ondo State, and much like, or unlike in Edo, where people came out en masse to vote for Sunday Okwebolo in the last elections that held there, the off-cycle elections that held in Edo, are we also seeing a situation of political or voter apathy in Ondo State? I would always reiterate the fact that many people assume that the results have been written even before the elections hold.
You see, I think this issue of voters' apathy in Nigeria requires serious intervention by a lot of Nigerian people.
Yes.
Because, truth be said, a lot of people in the country right now have an impression that elections don't count. A lot of people, whether in Edo, whether in Lagos State, whether in FCT, whether in Osun State, whether in Ekiti State, everywhere in this country, quite a lot of people have this voter apathy because they have this impression that votes don't count. But that is a lie from the hell. Elections do count. So those who are propagating this, that elections don't count and therefore you don't need to waste your time going out there to your polling unit and cast your votes, are agents of doom. The truth is that election counts. And some people enjoy this narrative that you don't need to waste your time going out to polling unit, queue, and vote. The truth is election counts. And there are some people who are propagating that lies that elections don't count, and that has largely contributed to voters' apathy in the country. But the truth is, it is not just peculiar to Edo State or Ondo State. Everywhere in Nigeria, you can remember the last elections. You can remember what was the ratio. We have over 240 million people in this country, and about just 15 million or 14 million thereabouts voted in the 2023 presidential election, which is not fair to democracy in this country. So my advice to everyone listening to me or watching me right now is that election do count, and more people need to come out and cast their votes.
Well, Patriot Desmond, the INEC is sort of faced with yet another integrity test in the Ondo elections, much like they were faced with in Edo State. And of course, this time around, it's on the resident electoral commissioner for the poll, Oluwatoyin Babalola, whom a lot of controversies have been trailing, with PDP members and other party members accusing her of being in bed with the APC party, thereby not asserting the free, fair, and credible nature of the election come Saturday. How much of an impact do you think this would have on our decisions when it comes to who becomes governor of Ondo?
Quite, you could remember during the Channel's debate in Ondo State, we have this issue that trails the media airwaves, that the resident commissioner that will be conducting the exercise in Ondo State is from Ondo State, but that is a lie. This woman hailed from Ekiti State, and the argument by Agbola Ajayi, who happens to be the candidate of PDP in Ondo State, is that she lives in Ondo State. But that, I don't want to join I don't want to join my voice to that. I'm not a politician. I'm here to observe election in Ondo State, and what I can tell you is this: as long as INEC has checked and consider that she is fit to conduct that exercise. The argument of PDP is not properly channeled. If she has some other behavioral challenges or some other issues, they should have put that forward.
Well, I believe the argument of PDP
is not a good argument for me.
I believe the argument, Patriot Desmond, is on the issue of neutrality in the arena.
Can be free, fair, and credible. You're saying something.
I believe their argument is based around the issue of neutrality in the political arena, in the election arena, when the elections hold. Do you think that perhaps these allegations are coming out of nothing, citing the fact that they have always known her and they have stated countless times, the PDP publicity secretary in Ondo State has stated that he went to the same university.
She has never been a member of APC or a member of PDP. The argument is that he's from Ondo State. But I don't know how that favors either APC or PDP. I don't understand their argument. What I'm saying is this: if they have other arguments against a person in terms of her conduct, her political affiliation, or maybe she has been romancing the governor of Ondo State, that would have been a better argument. For me, she's just the commissioner that will declare results. She's not the one totally that will conduct the exercise. There are thousands of ad hoc staff, there are thousands of police, there are thousands of agents for both parties that will go into that exercise and conduct the election. She or her role in this election is not total, is not all exclusive. She's also part of the process. So we should focus on some of the issues like electoral materials, the readiness of the police, the readiness of INEC, the readiness of the party, and the readiness of the Nigerian people to go into the exercise. I don't believe that whether she is from Ekiti State or from Ondo State or from any part of Nigeria would affect the exercise. I don't want to believe that.
Well, Patriot Desmond, I'm sure you're not a politician. You have reiterated this countless times, so I will certainly not be asking you what party you are supporting ahead of the polls. But if you are, what would it be for you come November 16th?
Yeah, November 16th, Ondo State. This is the time and opportunity for the people of the state to come in and choose a credible leader in Lucky Aiyedatiwa or Agbola Ajayi, according to their choices. My own voice, what I will have to this call is that every Ondo citizen, either aboriginals or visitors, you will live in Ondo State, you vote in Ondo State, please, on Saturday, I would pleads for the sake of posterity and for the prosperity of the state to come out on Saturday and cast your vote, because that is your due right, responsibility as a citizen of the country. Every citizen of the country in this democratic dispensation have the singular right to cast votes to choose and elect a credible leader who will see to the affairs of governance in the state. And whether you like it or not, plus and minus, the decision you're going to make on Saturday will either make or mark. And that is why I will urge everyone, anybody you feel is fit to be the leader of the state, come out on Saturday and cast your vote. And shun that ideology that votes don't count. Votes do count. And then those who are peddling that lies, they are agents of the devil from their head. So I would want to call on every citizen of Ondo State to please come out on Saturday and cast their votes for anyone who they consider fit for the job.
Well, you've quite beautifully put it out there, Patriot Desmond. You sounded almost as if you were rounding up the conversation, but there's still more. We have about 10 to 13 minutes to go. Let's talk about the PDP for first before we, turn our focus on the APC. Speculations are that the PDP is getting weaker by the day, especially when it comes to state elections or gubernatorial polls, where we saw how they were flawed in the Edo polls, and now we are seeing the Ondo polls coming up, and there are speculations that the APC will be flawed. And with the crisis rocking the PDP at the moment, do you think there's hope for the PDP, not just in Ondo, but generally in Nigerian politics? Or are we seeing a steady decline of the PDP until it phases out, almost like all the other political parties that have come before it?
Thank you so much, Shijoke. I've always maintained this, that for us to have a smooth development in Nigeria and good democracy, we must have functional party system. The party system in Nigeria is not encouraging democracy and growth. I've said this before, that for us to have growth and development, there has to be a strong opposition to checkmate the ruling party. PDP, as one of the biggest and the largest political party in the continent, their activities have been marred by selfish interests of some leaders. I've always called out the Minister of FCP as one of the bad wagons in PDP. You can't be in politics. You cannot be here and there. You cannot be here and there. So the leadership tussle in PDP has affected the performance of this party in all elections, either local government election, either state election, or federal or the presidential election. The truth be told, PDP right now need to put their hands together. Just yesterday, whether it is true or lie, I also read from the news that the current PDP candidate in Ondo State and his deputy are largely in serious conflict, because the governorship candidate of PDP alleges the deputy that he is not being supportive, and his certificate in election that is just 2 days ago, 2 days to election, and you're having this kind of bitter argument in the party. Currently PDP is not doing well, not because people are not willing to vote for them, but the truth is that because of the internal crisis, people do not trust their decision of whoever candidate they are bringing on board. For me, because I want development for this country, I want PDP to go back to drawing board, look at the conflicts, look at the best alternative ways to resolve this conflict, so that they can bring forward credible candidates that we can trust and vote for. And that is what I want for them, because that's the only way we can have a better development in our state or in the country.
Patriot Desmond, you think that the People's Democratic Party, as it stands now, still has the political willpower and the original blueprint of sustainable development in the country to drive Nigeria towards better days?
The PDP is don't forget that PDP has governed this country for 16 good years.
Yes.
You know, PDP used to be the largest political party in the whole of black nations in Africa. And then they have the structures, they have the materials, they have everything, they even have the resources. But what PDP is lacking presently is leadership. And leadership is everything. For me, it's pain. I am always in pain when I look at the scenario, when I look at the situation of PDP. For me, I've always maintained that for us to have growth and development, we must have a viable, a strong opposition that can check the ruling party. PDP, if Nigeria will move forward, PDP needs to put their hands together so that they can deliver this country from falling.
Now, there was a recent peace accord signed ahead of the Ondo polls, where about 18 political parties came together to append their signature on the document. This is a usual practice championed by former head of state General Abdul Salami Abubakar alongside Bishop Matthew Kuka of the Kuka Center. And some people are torn in between supporting the peace accord, citing that it sort of helps during elections, while others are of the opinion that it's just a charade and not necessarily having any impact on the peaceful nature of the election when it holds. Now, relating it to the Ondo polls, do you think that perhaps the peace accord is something that could ensure peace in the elections when it happens?
The peace accord has become an institution. Whether it has contributed to peaceful conduct of elections in our country, our state, is immaterial. The truth is that there has to be some people who are agents of what? Promoting peace during elections. And that is what the peace accord represents. The peace accord is meant to advocate, just like a case of a pastor and a church member. A church member who is what? Moving, in a path of destruction. It's the duty of the pastor to preach the gospel to bring the person back to Christ. So the peace accord as an institution in electoral matter is to promote peaceful conduct of elections. Whether the election turns out to be peaceful or not, it is not to be blamed on the people who make the move. The truth is, peace accord is good in all elections, but sincerely speaking, it has not actually yielded the much desired result that we expected in the first instance. But the only thing I would want to add is that the people who are the management, like Bishop Kuka, Abubakar, Abdul Salam Abubakar, and the rest of them should do more than just signing a paper, but also push certain bills to the National Assembly to see that whatsoever that was signed in the peace accord, whoever party go against it should be punished. Beyond that, there has to be strong advocacy that would be sponsored by the management of the peace accord in Nigeria. So beyond just political show that we always see every 4 years in state and in the country, the peace accord management should do more of advocacy and institutionalizing certain laws to ensure that those who sign the peace accord maintain utmost peace during elections.
Well, Patriot Desmond, we have about 5 minutes to wrap up this conversation. Let's talk about the issue of thuggery, mostly in Nigerian elections, especially in states where governors sort of have a stronghold on local government council chairmen, who are often used as a tool in mobilizing political thugs to tilt the election towards a preferred candidate in a setting like this. How do I address the issue of thuggery in the system, considering the fact that you said that Bishop Matthew Cook and General Abdul Salami Abubakar should not only make these guys append their signatures, but should rather push for something more effective that will stop them from instituting violence during elections?
First of all, I was happy at the Supreme Court judgment granting economic autonomy to local governments in the country. So the 774 local government that we have in Nigeria is expected to deliver governance to the people that lives in these communities and this local government. But this has always been my greatest fear. You know, not like the national elections or the conduct of elections in our constitution. The constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has granted the state government the power to conduct elections in state. Now, this has always been the issue. The issue has always been that state governors have total power to, conduct election in a way that favors the ruling party. Look at what happened in River State. I have never heard that APP won election in the last 16 years. But today, in River State, they sweep about 22 of those local governments out of 23 local government of River State. And look at other states in the country. Look at Benue State, look at all the states, look at Bayelsa State, look at Enugu State. When state governors conduct this election, I don't know what actually happens. Whether they manipulate the process, or people lost confidence in the process, or people do not participate in the process, or they just write elections. I've not done my investigation, but I know that something is wrong by state governors conducting elections. Now, going forward to thuggery issue that you have mentioned, poverty, lack of quality education, mentorship, and direction of a country has contributed largely to the number of thuggeries in the country. And don't forget that in countries where you have more thugs, they're more progressives, you can hardly have development, peace, and growth. It is a big national issue. Yesterday, I was going around Ondo State, and I could see the number of thugs. But the only thing is that they were not violent. But I see thugs. I see the good boys, like they usually call them, but they have not been violent. But then something is responsible, something or one thing or the other is responsible for the number of good and bad boys we have on the street. And that can be attributed to poverty, lack of good jobs, lack of security, social security, and lack of mentorship and quality education. And for us to do away with thuggery in this country, we need to invest more on our young people, create opportunity for young people, empower young people to be productive, because this young energy is not meant to be consumed. It is meant to be productive. When these energies are not channeled properly, they will be counterproductive. That it will be destructive. So what I want to plead to the leaders of this country, from local government to national government, is to create more opportunity for young people, because thuggery is gradually becoming more productive for young people, and almost every young person, the millennial. Thank God things are getting better among the Gen Z, but the millennial, majority of them, they have always found out that thuggery, agbero, lifestyle, and all that has always been productive for them. If you go to Lagos State, you find out that there are more agberos on the street than the graduates. And some people that naturally supposed to be graduates, because they find out that agberos are doing better economically, they dump their certificates, they dump their skills, which may have contributed to national growth. They dump their skills and they jump into the streets to become agbero, thugs, this and that. So what I want to say is that the issue of thuggery is inherent right now because of bad leadership we have in the country. So I'm calling on the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I'm calling on the 36 governors and the FCT minister to see that they do more in terms of co-opting young people into leadership, into skills. I've always advocated that every Nigerian young person deserves to have one skill or the other. It should be in law that every Nigerian must have a skill, because until you have a skill that contributes to national growth and bring back something in your pocket, we'll always be battling with the issue of trouble.
Well, Patriot Desmond, I must thank you so much, but this is all time would permit us to take. It's been a pleasure having you join us virtually from Akure, and we'll hope to hear from you after the elections come Saturday.
The pleasure is all mine.
Thank you very much. Well, that has been Patriot Desmond Fowobi, who is the president of the Nigeria Nexus, speaking on the build-up to the Ondo off-cycle gubernatorial polls coming up on the 16th of November 2024.